For thousands of years, cultures all over the globe have sworn by the power of just getting really, really hot. But what does modern science actually have to say about it? Today, we're going to dive into the data and try to answer that very question. Are saunas actually good for you? Okay, let's just jump in with the biggest question of all, right? Can sitting in a hot box actually help you live longer? I mean, it sounds a little out there, but it's a question that one massive study actually forced researchers to take very, very seriously. And that's where our story really begins. It all starts not with a study that set out to investigate saunas, but with a huge, long-term look at heart health that kind of stumbled upon something nobody saw coming. So, back in the early 80s, scientists in Finland started tracking more than 2,000 men. And for 2 full decades, they monitored pretty much everything: what they ate, how much they exercised, their lifestyle, all in an effort to figure out what keeps a heart healthy. They weren't looking for saunas, but, well, saunas found them. And when the researchers started crunching the numbers, they were absolutely stunned. This wasn't just some minor blip in the data. It was this really strong, impossible to ignore link between hitting the sauna often and having better overall health. It's not what they were expecting to find at all. Now, while the scientists might have been surprised, that people in the study probably weren't. I mean, Finland has a sauna tradition that goes back thousands of years. And really, this just highlights a global thing, right? From Roman baths to Japanese hot springs to indigenous American sweat lodges, using heat for wellness is a deeply, deeply ancient human practice. So, if this effect is real, how in the world does it work? To get that, we need to take a look at what's actually happening inside your body when you step into that kind of intense heat. First, let's just take a second to appreciate the environment here. A traditional Finnish sauna can get up to 90 degrees Celsius. That's just shy of the boiling point of water. It's an extreme situation, and your body immediately kicks into this all-hands-on-deck emergency response mode. And here's what that emergency response looks like. First, tiny proteins in your skin basically sound the alarm. Then, your neurons flash a high heat warning straight to your brain. Your brain responds, telling your heart to start pumping faster, and your blood vessels to open up to rush blood to the surface. Your skin gets hot to dump all that internal heat, and then, finally, you start to sweat. It's this incredibly complex, perfectly coordinated survival dance. Now, if that whole chain reaction, the increased heart rate, the extra blood flow, if that sounds a little bit familiar, well, there's a pretty good reason for that. Scientists have a really powerful way of describing what's going on. Believe it or not, physiologists have compared the body's response to a sauna to what happens during a moderate workout. And just look at the parallels. Your heart rate shoots up, blood flow increases, and your whole cardiovascular system gets put under a healthy amount of stress. Now, it's definitely not a replacement for a jog, but that regular, controlled stress might just strengthen the heart over time in a very similar way. So, why is this exercise-like state so good for us? Well, scientists have a few really interesting theories. For one, that increased blood flow is awesome for recovery after a real workout, helping get nutrients to tired muscles. It also helps flush out all the junk that can cause soreness and inflammation. That might even help with the kind of chronic, low-grade inflammation that's linked to aging. And there's another really cool piece of the puzzle, these things called heat shock proteins. The best way to think of them is like your cell's own personal bodyguards. They're patrolling your system, fixing damaged DNA, and just making sure all the cellular machinery is running the way it should. And get this, studies show that people who use saunas regularly tend to have more of these little guardians on duty. Okay, so we've got the biology, the potential mechanisms. Now let's connect it all back to that big Finnish study. What did the data actually show in the real world? The findings were honestly pretty remarkable. The guys who used saunas the most, we're talking 4 to 7 times a week, had a significantly lower risk of high blood pressure, they had healthier cholesterol levels, and they even had a lower risk of dying from any cause during the 20 years of the study. The data was just really compelling. But, and you knew about what's coming, right? This is where good science demands we pump the brakes a little. Because despite all these promising results, the world of heat research still has way more questions than it has final conclusive answers. Okay, so the biggest thing to remember here is the classic difference between correlation and causation. The study showed a link, but we can't say for sure that the saunas caused these health benefits. Maybe the people who use saunas a lot also happen to have other healthy habits. Plus, this study only looked at one very specific group, Finnish men. We have no idea if these results will be the same for women or for people from other parts of the world.
And we have to be super clear about this. This kind of intense heat isn't for everybody. That powerful response your body has can actually be dangerous for pregnant people or for anyone with certain health conditions. This is absolutely not a one-size-fits-all kind of therapy.
Which kind of leaves us back at the big question. Is the sauna this incredible piece of ancient wellness wisdom that science is only just now starting to understand? Or is it all just a lot of hot air? Right now, the evidence is definitely promising, and the biology seems to make sense, but I'd say the final verdict is still heating up.